Now, let's talk about Cordia, a famous Instagram channel that gained over 60,000 followers with only a few videos. Their minimal isometric style is right on trend, but is it hard? Well, for today's video, we're gonna recreate this scene. This is the first part, but if you want me to recreate the second part, comment we want more, so I will design it. Now, let's just start. Now, here we are inside of Adobe Illustrator this time. And we want to recreate this cube inside of the Adobe Illustrator. And the reason I usually work in the Adobe Illustrator to recreate these type of scenes is because of the pen tool and how easy it is to work with it. So as you see, we have an isometric cube in here. And I don't want to bother you with going into much details about how to create an isometric grid and then we recreate this cube. So I assume that this is our first time that we open the Adobe Illustrator and we want to recreate the scenes. So what I'm going to do is that I'm just going to lock the reference layer in here. I'm going to click on the new layer in here. Now let's go towards the pen tool. And then what I'm going to do is that I'm just simply going to zoom into the cube. Let's just turn off the stroke and let's just draw a rectangle like this. All right, so this is going to be base shape exactly like this. Great, this is good. Now what I'm going to do is that I'm just gonna select one of the points again. Let's go towards the pen tool again and let's redraw it this. Let's just go down to here. Great, done. And now let's just go towards the last one. Then let's just recreate a cube like this. Now what we can do is that we can just select this cube in here and we can select each individual side and we can go towards the color section, or we can press just I and get the color from the original layer. So this is going to be mainly the cube that we have. So as you see, it was really easy to make this cube. Now what we need to do is that we need to save it and then we need to move towards the Adobe After Effects. All right, now that we are inside of Adobe After Effects, I'm just gonna drag the cube in here. So as you see, I have already the reference in here, so we can watch it for the first time. So as you see, a cube comes and we have some details that morphs into a sort of a funnel, and we're going to do that for the second part. All right, so it's easy. So let's just reveal it and now let's just replace it in here. Okay, this is good. Now if you pay attention, you will see that the bottom edge of this cube sort of is not visible to us. So let's just recreate it. So what I'm going to do first is that I'm just going to press Ctrl+Y to recreate the background, and I'm going to call it BG. But since we're already using the reference background for now, let's just hide it and push it beneath the cube layer. Now what I'm going to do is that I'm just going to right click on the cube layer, and in create I'm just going to select create shapes from vector layers, and I'm going to delete the original cube layer. All right, so this is good. Now what I'm going to do is that I'm just going to select the cube outline, and we're going to select the rectangle tool, and we're going to switch to the mask tool, and we're going to draw a mask like this. So around here should be good. Now we're going to press F to use the feather. I'm going to set the feather to 50. And lastly, we're going to just invert the mask like this. So as you see right now, we will have something like this, which is good. So if we increase the feather or decrease it like this, we're going to have so now as you see, this will allow us to have an exact same shape as the rectangular cube that we have on reference. So if I reveal the reference one more time, you will see that in here we will have some basic rectangular animations. But before that, let's just work on the revealing the cube itself. So as you see, it's super easy to reveal. It's a position along with the opacity keyframe. So I'm gonna do that. So let's just set the position keyframe in here, and let's just press Shift+T to open the opacity, and let's just go into first frame. Now what I'm going to do is that I'm just going to push the first position a bit down, and then when it's in here, I'm just going to set the opacity on 0 as well. And now let's just apply the standard easings. So let's just watch. Okay, this is just, let's just hide it. let's just reveal the background for the first time. As you see, the movement is super linear, so I'm just gonna move it a bit down. Great, so this is super good. Let's just also press F for the feather. Right now the mask doesn't really look good as I wanted to, so let's just adjust this mask a bit. Okay, this looks better. Now what I'm going to do is that I'm just going to reveal the shape. So as you see, now we will have this animation in here, so that we want to do. So to do that, what I'm going to do is that I'm just going to call this one cube, and I'm going to duplicate the cube, and let's just call it the rectangles. So and then I'm just going to go towards the content. So let's just solid so you guys can figure it out better. So as you see, this is the side one. I don't need it. I'm going to delete it. And this is the second side, and I'm going to delete it as well. So what I'm going to do in here is that I'm just going to turn off the fill, and then I'm just going to open the content section, and I'm going to add a stroke in here. All right, this is good. Now what we need to do is that I'm just going to use the size parameter in here, or the scale option. It doesn't really matter, but first let's just center the anchor point, and let's remove the keyframes from it, and let's just now center the anchor point, and let's just do something like this. Okay, this seems good. Now let's just set the stroke on 1 pixel, because I think it's better. Now it is very simple to animate, so we're gonna go in here. I'm gonna press S to reveal the scale, and we're gonna go around, like, let's just say 50 frames. I don't know, about here. And we're gonna set the second keyframe, and then we're gonna get back to the first keyframe, and we're gonna set it on 0. So we will have this animation like this. However, let's just focus on it a bit more. I'm gonna press F9 to apply the standard easings, and I'm gonna set the influence on 65%. Well, this is good. So now what I'm going to do is that I'm just going to go 2 frames forward, and I'm going to duplicate this layer, and we're going to push these keyframes by 2. So now let's watch. Okay, this is good, but I'm going to do it one more time. Now one thing that is in here, you see that when it's going in here, we will have an opacity keyframe, so it will be easy. So let's just go in here, and let's just press T to open the opacity, and let's just animate the opacity for 5 frames. Something like this. And then I'm just gonna press Ctrl+C, and then I'm gonna paste it for each individual in here. So as you see, this will be our animation. Let's just now get rid of the reference so we can get focused on our animation itself. Okay, this looks super nice and good. Great. Now let's just open the reference one more time, and this is the trickiest part in here. So we need to create those lines that goes behind our cube. Alright, so this should be easy as well. So let's just go in here, and I'm gonna select this rectangular cube in here, and let's just reveal our shape layer one more time. We don't need the reference anymore at this point. So it's about here, and what I'm going to do is that I'm just gonna duplicate this one. Let's press U and delete the keyframes, and I'm just gonna call it the lines. Now I'm just gonna use the scale to scale it a bit, something like this, and I'm gonna push it in here. Now how do we cut the lines so we can sort of create a perspective from this cube? And this is the trickiest part, where I really like when we need to manipulate the perspective. So what I'm going to do is that I'm just going to simply add a trim path. So yes, this is going to be the trim path, and I'm gonna start the trimming the end and start. So about here should be good. And same as the start parameter, I'm just gonna cut it towards almost here. And then we just can use the offset parameter to create a something like this, which, as you see right now, it looks exactly like what we had before. So I'm just gonna duplicate this line and I'm gonna push it a bit down. However, I'm just gonna scale it for like, let's say 20% more. And now we need to adjust the trim path again. So let's just quickly adjust and offset this trim path. So as you see, we have created these lines with only the trim path, though a lot of things that happening in Adobe After Effects, and you see the complex animations are really done with simple steps. So it's just matter of, figuring out how to crack the code and create this type of animations. So what I'm going to do is that I'm just going to press P to reveal the position as well. And I'm just going to go in here where it should get revealed. Let's just go in here almost. Let's just set the keyframes and then let's just push them down like this. And I'm gonna just use the opacity as well. Let's just set it on 0, and when it's in here, let's just reveal it like this. So we will have something like this. And let's just apply the 65% influence and apply easings to our animation. And at this point, we just need to bit offset those keyframes to create a sense of good animation for our, design. But it's just too rough in my opinion. So let's just apply these standard easings, and we can hold Alt and we can increase the distance between the keyframes. So this should be good. Now, as you see, we have this simple animation in here. Now let's go to the next tricky part, which is creating the 3D coin. Alright, so this should be easy as well. Now, there are two types of things that you can do. First, you can just create a new composition and design the coin in there, or you can use the extrude plugin, which is a free plugin that I have already explained it in my previous videos. It will duplicate the layers and it will index them by 4 to 5 pixels. But we're gonna just use the 3D renderer section in our design to create this coin. So what I'm going to do is that I'm just gonna go towards the ellipse tool and let's just select the fill for it, and I'm gonna just reveal the reference to see the coin, and I'm just gonna drag a circle like this, and I'm gonna use the eyedrop tool. So this is going to be main shape, which is good. Now what I'm going to do is that I'm just gonna go towards the type tool and I'm gonna write a $sign, and this is really big. So let's just center it in here, and I'm just gonna change its font to an Helvetica one. This one should be good. Great. Now let's just set it on 3D, and I'm gonna call this one base coin, and we can use the color labeling at this point to distinguish our layers. Okay. Great. Now what we need to do is that we need to change the render mode from classic 3D to a Cinema 4D or advanced 3D, which I'm gonna do. And I'm gonna just change the view mode from the active camera to custom view 1 so we can see it better. Now let's just go towards the base coin, and I'm gonna open the geometry options, and we can now play with the extrusion depth to create some extrusion for our coin. So I think 10 pixels should be decent amount. Great. Now also what we need to do is that we need to make sure when we are rotating the coin, it doesn't really affect the dollar sign. So we need to parent it first to the coin. And let's just now start rotating it to see if it's working correctly. Let's just get back to the active camera so we can see it better. And I'm gonna just rotate this. As you see, we have some jittering happening in here, and that is because the dollar sign is going into the circle. So I'm just gonna push it by, -1 pixels, and that is nice. Okay. So this is going to be our main coin at this point, and let's just also set the anchor point on middle so we can just play with it better. Okay, this is good. Now let's just rotate it for 180 degree, and let's just duplicate the dollar sign again. And this time I'm just gonna make sure that I'm gonna push it out like this. Also, I need to rotate this one for another 180 degree, something like this. But let's first apply the anchor point. So we set the anchor point on the middle. All right, let's just get back to its original position. So we need to go towards the custom view 1 again, so I can, play with the camera. Let's just orbit around it so we can see what is the problem. So as you see, this is in here, and now I can just easily use the dollar sign to push it and snap it. Great, so this is good. Now let's just test it so we can see if it's working correctly, which is true. And now what I'm going to do is that when it's in here, so it's going to be the side of this coin, I'm just going to open the base coin, and let's just go towards the content, and so we're going to select the ellipse one, and in add menu I'm just going to go towards side, and I'm going to add a side color, and I'm going to make it purely white. So this will allow us to create more depth for our coin, which we want. And I'm just gonna, make it flat like this. All right, so this is great. So this is going to be our coin. Now, for the sake of making it convenient and we animate it easier, I'm just gonna create a null object. And this time I'm gonna call it the coin controller. So this will basically control the coin, and I'm gonna parent the base coin to the coin controller. But first, before we do that, let's just set the coin controller in here, and let's just set it on middle. Let's just turn it into 3D, and then we parent the base coin into coin. Great. Now this is going to be our animation. So when it's in here, I'm just going to press P to reveal the position, and I'm going to go around here, and I'm going to just create a keyframe like this, and I'm going to go 10 frames forward, and I'm going to replace it back in here. So I'm just going to apply the standard easings. So we have something like this, which is quite easy. And now I'm just going to open the rotation, and I'm going to set a keyframe on orientation. So when it hits the ground, we're just going to, create a full rotation. Let's say it's just going to rotate to, here. Also, let's just give it a bit depth by, changing it to the perspective like this. So it's just gonna be something like this. It hits the ground, and then it needs to rotate. So if it doesn't rotate like this, we're just going to use the X and Y and Z rotation, and then I'm just going to rotate it a bit, or let's just say 29 pixels to, and then I'm just going to rotate it first. So it's just, see, as you see, it's a bit fast. So I'm just gonna give it a bit more time. And when it's in here, we're just gonna go 10 frames forward, and we're gonna just again push it down like this. Super fast happening at this point, and I don't like it. So I think because we are just setting it on -351, so let's just rotate it for 80 degrees. So as you see, this looks way better, but we can still exaggerate this movement a bit. So I'm just going to copy keyframes, and I'm going to go for the third one. I'm going to draw like this. Super fast. And we can just increase the distance between keyframes. Create a better smooth movement. So as you see, it looks way better now. All right. So now what we can do at last is that we can add a deep glow effect. But as you see, it will not work because we are working on the Cinema 4D. So in order to fix that problem, all you need to do is that you need to pre-compose this layer. And you need to pay attention that once you pre-compose this layer, you will be not able to edit directly outside of the main composition. So we need to make sure this is the what we want, which in our case right now is we want that. So I'm just going to select everything, and I'm going to pre-compose it, and I'm going to call it coin. So now once you do that, you can just apply the deep glow effect. So let's just set it on minus, set the exposure on 0.50, and let's just set the radius to 80. So now this will create the illusion of the glow that we want. So now it's the matter of adjusting the layers accordingly into what we want. But now, as you see, we almost finished the first scene, but we need to make sure that we only add an opacity keyframe for our coin like this. Great. So let's make sure that we are starting it in the correspond time. So we need to go in here. And we need to make sure when it's falling. I'm just going to animate it when it's falling. Great. So as you see, we have just finished the first 3 seconds of this video, and I hope you have enjoyed it. Now, if you have enjoyed this video and you want me to do the second part, please comment we want more, so I will design the second part as well. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope you have enjoyed it. If you have enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel, as it would help me out a lot. Thank you so much. I will see you in the next video.